dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world. Yep. What's up? It's your boy Humble Dad back with another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. Listen, last week I was not feeling well. This week it's a go. You feel me? We're going to be talking about why marriage is a big deal. And I started doing a little bit more research on where this attack on marriages began. It had been going somewhere around, that we always talked about it, somewhere around the 1960s. And it was a lady, I can't remember her name. I did a video about it. And they wanted to change the different definitions of the traditional marriage, and that was one of the reasons why there began to be an attack on marriages, especially since it's been around for such a long time. And so I want to talk about why marriage is a big deal with the panel and see what they come up with and see how they can help us move forward. And also my church, shout out to Embassy City in Irving. I'm gonna be a part of a group that I'm putting together as a result of the leadership that is there, and it's going to be working on marriage-minded men. So I'll be working with some men, trying to get them to get themselves ready to be married, or if they already are married, that they will increase their ability to be a better husband. So trying to prepare men to be husbands or be better husbands. That's what I'm gonna be doing for the next 3 months. So the question that we're going to be starting off with this evening is, how would you define or describe commitment? How would you define or describe commitment? And we're going to start with the person with all the answers, none other than Prototype.
What's happening?
It's chilling, bro. What's going on with you?
Man, just living a dream.
That's what's up. What you got?
I would describe commitment as something you don't quit on no matter what. No matter how hard it is or how fun it is or how much you're tired of it, you're committed to it, so you don't quit.
That's what's up. I like that. Don't quit. Next up on the stage, none other than it's me, Jamie. What's up?
Hey.
You in the wall?
I'm on the wall. Yes, the brick wall.
It is a brick wall.
So, of course, I looked it up in Webster. So there's 3 definitions that I find quite interesting about commitment. The first says the state or quality of being dedicated to a cause or activity. That's 1. 2, an engagement or obligation that restricts freedom of action. Right?
Read
Okay.
that again.
Yeah, an engagement or obligation that restricts freedom of action.
Okay.
And then the third is an agreement or pledge to do something in the future. So that's what I'm going to say commitment is, because I thought commitment was like number 2. So the way I looked at a commitment was the second one that I listed.
That's what's up. Appreciate you for being here. Are you calling out here early?
No, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay up. I got some other things to do after we're done, so I'm gonna just stay up.
Okay. I just need to know where I need to fit you in on these questions.
No, I'm gonna stay.
All right, that's a bet. And we're gonna welcome to the stage none other than the greatest to me, my lady, Miss Kendra Siobhan in the building. What's up, Miss Lady?
Hi. How's everybody doing? Hey, Jamie.
Hey, girl, you look fabulous. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I got a baddie.
What
What's
was
up,
the
babe? You got
question?
the question. The question is, how would you define or describe commitment?
Commitment. Commitment is it's an act of integrity. So basically you are acting on doing what you say you're going to do. Whether someone's seeing you, whether anyone knows, you know what you personally said, and so sticking to that's commitment. I can't hear you.
I said I'm interested in hearing what you got to say for sure. Here we go. None other than the Barry Whites in these streets, lost in
Go
translation.
inside and get the
Hey,
What's going on, my guy?
what's going on, HD? How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, sir. Thank you for asking.
That's what's up. What you got?
You know what? Commitment is a guarantee, man. Ironclad. You know, you stand behind what you say you're gonna do, and it's gonna happen come hell or high water. So if you ask me what a commitment is a guarantee.
Mhm.
A guarantee, like
Right.
Charles Barkley.
That's right. Guarantee.
Guarantee.
That's right.
Prototype. You know who Barkley is? Okay, I'm just saying. Y'all got the same, mannerisms too, for sure. Hey, for me, I would say commitment is literally doing what you said you're gonna do. Doing what you say you're gonna do. And there will be a time where something comes in play where you could not fulfill that commitment. So since you couldn't fulfill that commitment, you should let that person know prior to the time arriving. Do not say I am going to be late when you have not even left yet. You know what I'm saying? The time is already here, bruh. You know what I'm saying? You should have told me you were gonna be late an hour ago. Like you know that. You know. So that's what I think. Because I'm very I'm very much of a respecter of people's time, and so if I'm going to be late, I want people to know that I'm going to be late. But more than anything, I'm willing to do whatever it is that I said that I was going to do, and if I didn't, then I'm gonna figure out a way to make it up the back end. All right, for sure. So that's kind of wrapping it up as far as giving the definition of what we're going to be kind of talking about on this evening, considering the topic is why is marriage a big deal? And marriage is about commitment, right? It's doing what it is that you say that you're going to do. And so we're going to start with a very simple question is what does marriage mean to you personally? What does marriage mean to you personally? And we're going to start with you, Proto.
Oh man, I don't know. I can't answer that question. I really can't. To be honest, you have to come back to me at the end, man. I need some ideas on what it means, but
You need some ideas? Okay.
yeah.
Loss, what you got? What does marriage mean to you personally?
Marriage to me means a commitment between two people who have decided to experience life and to perfect one another together until death do you part.
Who you got next?
Let's go with Miss Kendra.
What does marriage mean to me personally? I would say ministry, having something bigger than yourself that only can come about with for me, my husband. There's certain things that I think God wants us to do, and it's only going to work. It's not going to work with me just doing it by myself or him doing it by himself. It's only going to work with us doing it together. So if that is, bringing youth to God, what we're going to do as a married couple, it is a higher level of ministry that I feel is meant for just him and I.
That's what's up. Who you got going next?
You ready, Proto? Jamie can go.
No, I mean, I'll go, but I mean, for the To keep it simple, man, I would just say family for real, for real.
Okay.
I can't really speak past that because there's so many things that how you guys said, oh, this or that. There's so many things that people don't experience in it that you can't necessarily put those things on it because just because we're not in ministry with their marriage don't mean they're not married. You know what I'm saying? I could say, oh, you have a best friend or you have somebody that help push you into goals, but there's a lot of people that's not getting those things, man, and they still married. So I can't define marriage as that if everybody's not experiencing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why it's to you though. Like for you,
that's why the question was kind of hard for me because everybody don't get the same things out of marriage, and even to me, I could say once upon a time I had this idea what marriage was. But when it shakes down to it just ends up being family for real.
That's what's up. So to you personally, it's family and building family. All right, I like that. What's up with it, Jamie? What does marriage mean to you personally?
Personally, is Lost and Kendra's answer put together, because to me, marriage is the outward manifestation of what your relationship should be with Christ. And so that involves ministry, that involves the mission, that involves having somebody to be able to hold you accountable, but to have a friend and a lover, of course, and what Christ wants you to have, pleasure, you know what I'm saying? Because y'all got to be not leaving out the pleasure part. That's why he made marriage. You feel me? People like to leave that out because it's kind of like taboo in the church, but nuh-uh. That's why people are out here playing married and not really married. Because they skip the other part. But it just those two answers together. But the world, if you want me to give a world answer, before I got saved, marriage to me was being committed to somebody for, creating kids and living the American life, really, like the white picket fence, the kids, the good job, that type of thing. Happiness every now and then. You know what I'm saying? But definitely happy wife, happy life type thing from what you hear when you're growing up. Barbie dolls and Ken houses and all of that type of stuff. For real, Cinderella fairy tale stories type things. That's what you would look at as an example as marriage growing up as a little girl. But other than that, no. As a biblically now, knowing better, the two answers would be Lost and Kendra's answer.
That's what's up. For me, I would say marriage to me is stability and structure. Those are the two words that stick out to me beyond what things that you all have said. Because for me, stability it's a launching point to connect with what Prototype said, which is to start my family, but more so to also begin the part of the structure, which is to model what it is to look like to become more like Christ, as well as being able to teach the next generation how things should be, giving them giving the family even stability and structure so that they can thrive within that. So that's what I would say marriage is to me personally. And it has also helped me become better as an individual and also see where my weaknesses are and also have somebody else point out where my weaknesses are. And if you're in me, I like to get better. So seeing as though I see the weakness, then I'm able to get able to address it and then and try to get better as a result of it, as well as to be able to communicate it to somebody else whenever their situation comes up, right? Because somebody was saying this, I can't remember who it is, but we go through things not just for ourselves, but for other people, so that we are, as it's in the word testimony, I am on my test, right? And so because of that, when I get past my test, I can now go back and give people the answers to the test, if you will, right? So that's my thought process on that one. And welcome to the stage. We got somebody new today. Hello, Miss Crystal.
Hey everyone, how y'all doing?
Doing well. Got the speaker's voice. Okay. How you doing?
Thank you.
That's good. I'm glad that you can make it.
Yeah, me too. I'm happy as well.
Yeah. Everybody, this is Miss Crystal. She's friend of Miss Meek. Y'all remember Miss Meek? We have Proto, Lost in Translation, Jamie, and then Miss Kendra and myself, Dr. Glenn, or some people call me Humble Dad in these streets. So, Miss Crystal, since you're on the stage, we're going to go with you on this particular question: is what does marriage mean to you personally?
Marriage is definitely to me. What does it mean to me? It's a moment to grow with and through someone else. I think you were saying earlier that within a marriage, I think your partner helps you see your blind spots. You know, yeah, I think those are some really good benefits of marriage because if you can have someone who's honest with you, um, loving, caring, understanding, it just helps you, navigate through this world a bit easier. So, connection, growth, yeah, that's kind of where I would start with that.
That's good. Connection, growth, somebody that will be honest with you. Those are really good ones for sure. And accepting. Listen, in marriage, you definitely gonna have to figure out the accountability piece for sure. You're gonna have to take it and give it. Right? That's that part that's important for everyone involved for sure. So does anybody want to add to what we've had, or y'all good on where we at?
Oh,
Okay,
we
good.
good.
That's what's up. Okay, so diving into the next question, I wanted to talk about as it relates to, I think Jamie was kind of talking about it a little bit, but I wanted to know, how do you view the purpose of marriage into today's society versus in previous generations? And Jamie kind of started with saying, the worldly view versus the biblical view. But if you could elaborate a little bit more, Jamie, we'll start with you. How do you view the purpose of marriage in today's society versus in previous generations?
I don't believe that marriage actually has a purpose in today's society to today's society. I don't believe that it's actually essential. People have, purpose in their heart a lot of times that they're not going to get married early on that their careers are more important, that taking care of their self is more important. They do want a relationship, they want interaction, but they're not actually wanting it for the right reason because they don't necessarily know what it even looks like to be accountable. And that starts early. Like if we're just being very, very honest, because a lot of people are growing up in single parent homes that are probably dating more so than being married, and they're seeing more bad relationships than they ought to see. They kind of purpose in their heart, from what I gather, from what looks relatable in the internet streets, is that they don't want to be damaged, so they just don't want to deal with the accountability of seeing somebody grow or even growing themselves. And that's just being honest. Like they'll be like, if the moment they don't make me happy, I'm leaving. Well, then that you can't. If you have a kid and your kid doesn't make you happy, you can't just leave your kid. But to be honest, in the society, people are doing that. I've experienced where a parent would just be like, I don't want to do this anymore, and leave the kid. So we're not even, we don't know what commitment is. Like we don't understand what commitment is. And so this day and age in society, I don't think people see the value of marriage. They don't. You said something, Humble Dad. You said stability, right? And that is something that I feel was very essential in the 1950s, in the 1960s, especially when we left slavery, was the stability of what marriage looked like. We were marriage oriented people, right? Because we knew that unified front was something to be reckoned with. Now, do I feel like we knew the spiritual aspect to that? Kind of. Some did and some didn't, I would say, right? Because if we truly really understood the spiritual aspect of what marriage does, according to the word of God, we would have fought harder for it, and we wouldn't have allowed certain things like food stamps or certain things to come into the community and deter us from being a unified front, even though daddy had more than one home, right? There was still a structure and we still had a understanding. But to answer the question again, versus now, no, there is no value in marriage because people want to have more than one husband and wife now, right? Because they said that is financially sound. They said that when they pitch that is because it makes financial sense, which would be your stability that was talked about, right? So no, they don't see the true value of marriage, not in this day and age. And then back in the day, it meant something different, and we just don't have that anymore. We don't have that fight to fight for one another, and we don't have that fight at all. We just don't. We don't care. If it doesn't benefit us, we don't care. And so that's my base. That's why I got this brick wall right up here. This right here. That's why that's up there.
Who you got going next?
Let's go with Miss Kendra.
All right. In today's society, I still think that marriage is important to a lot of people, and it serves the same purpose that it's always served. People have just changed. Marriage hadn't changed. The word hadn't changed. So I think as people learn and grow as individuals, they'll value it a little bit more. But I think the purpose of marriage in today's society is basically to continue with the growth of society. Going on social media makes you feel like people don't value marriage, but there's a vast majority of people who don't subscribe to that. And they probably feel like it doesn't matter because of so many options. You basically can, talk to one person this day, talk to another person this day. So there's not a real commitment. And we have lied to the younger generation by telling them to wait. When the more you wait, the more you can find reasons not to. Like, even being in the marriage, you're going to have days where you don't want to talk to them, or you're not getting along, but people don't explain it that they make it seem as though marriage is supposed to be rosy and fun all the time, and you're just in love and gaga goo goo and everything, and it's just not the truth. So I think if more married people talked more versus kind of being pushed away because you're married now, or you don't understand the single life now because you're married. But if we talk more about the benefits of marriage and what marriage really entails, so that people will know that you're going to have hard times, but it doesn't have to always be that way.
That's what's up. Who you got going next?
Dwayne.
In the building. What up?
What's going on, beautiful people?
Hey.
Yeah. I'm fake. Oh, man. How y'all doing?
Doing well, bro. Good to see you, man.
Fantastic. Glad to be here. How do you view the purpose of marriage in today's society versus previous generations? I think it's checking a box. It's to check a box from a societal standpoint. Everybody want to be booed up, but I think now we're focusing on quantity versus quality of who we want to be booed up with. So I think as for checking the box, but in it, just like what you touched on, Kendra, I think the quality or even the image or what people are seeing has tainted what marriage is. So I think it is a good thing that we are coming together in a space like this to talk about how to improve the quality.
That's what's up. Who you got going next?
Jamie, you went yet? Oh,
yeah, Jamie went first.
Oh, my bad. Proto, come on with it.
I think the only thing that separates people from the previous till now is just religion, man. Religion has changed so much in society that it's just not at the focal point no more, or difference in it is more at the focal point. You know what I'm saying? It was, you had a couple of religions to pick from in the 60s, 70s, you know what I'm saying? People was Christian, Muslim, as far as black folks, right? The general consensus was you was Christian, Muslim, and those values kind of ruled on how you was moving forward. You know what I'm saying? It was more of a social norm to get married and treat a woman right, or what I'm saying, not abuse, just don't be a gigolo, you know what I'm saying. Now it's become, they taking a religion out of it, you know what I'm saying, the morality out of society at this point. So that's the only difference for real. As far as the value in it, I don't know, man. I don't really see outside of creating a family, making sure you don't have a family, outside of a nuclear family. Like, that's really the main value of it. But I think for the most part, I know a huge reason I wanted to get married is I just didn't want to live in sin. You know what I'm saying? I knew I wanted to have sex. So I was just like, well, dang, I don't want to go to hell just because I'd like to have sex. So it was just kind of one of those things where the answer is like, well, it's better. What is it? It's better to burn or don't burn or whatever it is. Like, you understand where I'm going? Yeah, it's better to marry than to burn. So I took that in, but that's because I was religious. You know what I'm saying? And that's the difference. It's just that morality of religion.
That's what's up. Who you got?
Let's go with Crystal.
So I would say a major difference from our ancestors or our grandparents versus us is survival versus choice. I think that in previous times it was that when you're in a position of needing to get something done, needing to accomplish something, needing to survive, needing that person, it changes the stability and the foundation of a relationship. Some people could argue for good or for worse. Some people think that kind of having that those primal needs needing to be met, it can help. Kind of like if we were in survival mode right now, right? Everybody would be putting their best foot forward in most cases. Now we have evolved as people, so I think that relationships and marriage had to evolve a bit with that. I think the biggest thing now is it's a choice, and some people find that great. Some people find it an issue. I think it just means that you have to put that much more work into it, and you have to make it a major focus of something that you really want to keep together. People have to have those same morals and values that, this is something that I'm willing to grow through, and put my best foot forward. But you got to take it serious. It's easy to take something serious if you need to versus if you choose to. So that would be my answer.
That's what's up. So, to a follow-up question, are you suggesting that it was much easier then to be married than it is now? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I would say. I agree with that.
Okay, cool. I was just making sure that's what I was hearing. Lost, it's on you, buddy.
Hold on, could I say one thing?
Yeah.
What I heard is she said women needed to be married to survive.
Okay. Yeah.
Then I feel like it built up some resentment. Like, now I don't gotta marry no more because I don't need y'all suckers anymore. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all was marrying to survive. Men was marrying because of morality. Women were marrying to survive. That's crazy.
I think it was a mixture of both. Survival for both. Because think about it, even like my grandparents, my grandmother and grandfather had 9 children. Well, the children helped with my grandparents' what do you call it, landscaping business. Each child that was brought into the family was another worker. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but it was. So I think it was definitely a necessity on both ends because they help one another. You definitely, I'm sure our grandparents can figure out ways that they needed our grandmother and vice versa. But it was that, I think it was on both ends, in my opinion.
Go ahead,
you talking about back in the day? It was on both ends that both needed each other?
Yeah, I would say I agree with that.
Okay.
You disagree with that?
I definitely disagree with that.
Well,
Uh,
go ahead.
I mean, it was like women literally couldn't have a bank account without a husband. So they literally had to get married to survive. You went from your parents' home to your husband's home. And if done correctly, that sounds ideal, but not everybody's wrapped too tight, and so abuse starts to happen, and the woman gets stuck in a situation where they're not being treated properly. They have children. You start teaching your children, you don't have to get married, you don't have to do this, you don't want to go through the same things that I went through, which is not necessarily would be true for their kids as well. But that's how it went. Like, women did get married out of necessity, and now that women are making their own money and doing their own thing, it's like they feel like they have the choice of if they want to be married or not. So I agree and disagree. I mean, I definitely see the benefits of having a wife, and I think that the men back in the day saw that until they didn't.
Interesting. What you got, Fredo? You thinking about something?
No, I mean, I think we're right on par. I don't think it was like I said, I don't think it was a necessity for men to get married then. Just now, women, that's why women are putting up such a, you got to give me this, you got to give me this, and give me this. I'm not doing nothing. I want 80-20. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a, you owe me because I don't need you, and I could get what I want, who I want now. Even if and you be looking at them like, you don't qualify for that. Well, I don't need you. You know what I'm saying? So if I don't qualify, I'll be single in my women's group. Like, you know what I'm saying? We don't like y'all anyway. I think most women don't like men on the slide. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather kiki with other girls. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't like men's energy. I don't, it's just y'all want men to act like women so y'all can be like, yeah, you got to be more sensitive. Y'all want them to be XYZ. You understand my emotions, when really that was never us in the first place. We are who we were. You know what I'm saying? So it made
why do you think men got married then back then?
I think out of morality to have sinless sex for real. You know what I'm saying? And there were some other benefits, you know what I'm saying?
Like, to have bastard children.
We don't want to have bastard children. And then like to have somebody to take care of you, like a woman that's going to nurture, you know what I'm saying? Because we wasn't hard. I mean, we was hard. So it's like, somebody to make sure, dinner was cooked, you know what I mean? Make the house smell good from time to time, like that kind of stuff. Like, that's why men get married. I don't think men change much. We still want that. But women, like, I'm not doing none of that. You know what I'm saying? You better cook your own food, clean up after yourself, XYZ. You know what I'm saying? I don't need you. So if you want me here, you have to do X, Y, and Z, or A through X. If you want a woman in the house, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
hey, listen, that makes sense. I understand the premise. But even if you go back to when, even the biblical times, marriage was still a big deal. Who they married was even a big deal. Women did not want to not be married, and men didn't either. They both understood the assignment. And so I would say that what has transpired as of now, I'm gonna come to you, Laws. What has transpired now is that people don't really, they think that the Bible is outdated as it relates to what their job description is in a marriage. Because what I keep hearing in these YouTube spaces, and even when I have conversations with people, the concern is not about God's business. It's more of a concern about themselves and what it is that they're not going to get out of the matrimony, when in fact you're supposed to be giving. As men, we are called to be servant leaders. That is our position and our disposition. Women are supposed to be helpmates, which is another form of servant position. But what is going on right now that's different than before is that individuals have aligned themselves with being individuals that are concerned only really about themselves. And as a result, marriage cannot be a part of their thought process, because in a marriage, selflessness is what's required, because that's what servants do inside of a marriage, but also inside of any particular form of a relationship that garners teamwork to be done. So that's what it is that I'm seeing, because I don't know if y'all seen the I think MTR, Mediocre Tutorial Reviews. He just recently reviewed a podcast with Kendra G and a young lady. For the I couldn't get it downloaded. Forgive me for that. But she had been married to her husband. She had 3 children. She was a nice looking young lady. Kendra G kept explaining that and saying, you're a pretty girl. You're a pretty girl. And she had just been divorced from her husband, maybe 30 to 60 days. All right. And she wanted to have a man of very much of substance, as it relates to a man that honored his vows. Basically, a man of God is what she said, wanted to honor his vows. And then also wanted a man that is going to be equipped to take care of 80% of the bills, even though she currently takes 100% of the bills now. And she wanted basically a companion, but she did not necessarily want to be on his page. She was like, I don't know what that means to be on his page, right? So she literally is wanting to have a godly man as it relates to what marriage looks like, but the reason why she got a divorce is because they grew apart. She didn't want to go through the hard part of relearning your mate and things of that nature. So I think I'm just giving it as most recent in my mind. And so that's why I use that as an example. Lost, what you got?
Thank you, humble dad. Here's my thing. The question is, how do you view the purpose of marriage in today's society versus previous generations? Marriage hasn't changed. People have. Let's just be honest. The way that marriage is constructed, if you've done the work as you should, you've read that Bible and you've done what you're supposed to do, marriage is easy, man. It's the other stuff on the outside that causes problems. Look at it this way. Marriage is like a ship. It's a vessel. It's there to take you where you need to go from place to place. And here's the thing. When you get married, you and your spouse get on that ship and you go from place to place. And every now and then you need to make a stop to, fill up on supplies or whatever. Well, here's the issue. Most times in the beginning, like back in the day when you had to fill up on supplies, you were around other godly people who filled up your ship with wisdom. You know what I'm saying? The Bible even says that there's safety in the multitude of counsel. Well, back in the day, most people were married. So they had something to pour into your marriage that was of good use for your marriage. You see what I'm saying? They would tell you, you're going to need stuff like faith. You're going to need stuff like patience. You're going to need stuff like kindness. Those are words of encouragement that you can load up on your ship until you get to the next stop or the next destination. The problem is that now that people don't view marriage the same because they haven't done the work. They haven't filled up their docks full of the stuff that people need that's going to push them on their marriages to have greatness along the way. What they'll do is they'll start pulling up to ports of mass where they'll say, hey, you know what? We need to get some supplies. And they pick up selfishness a little along the way. They pick up entitlement a little bit along the way. You know what I mean? They pick up all type of, how should I say this? They pick up untrustworthiness to each other. They pick up disgust. And then what happens is you start putting that stuff in your ship and you don't get really far. You know what I mean? You be ready to, it starts to poison what's in your ship. And there's a saying that says that a ship doesn't sink because of the water that's in. It sinks because of the water that gets in it. And I think what happens is when we start putting other people's trash in our boats, then it wrecks our ship. That's the main reason why you have people like Kendra G having women on her show saying that she wants to start off a whole new marriage with somebody else when she ran her ship ashore and wrecked it. My whole thing is this: if a man sees that you're running your ships into the shore and wrecking it, why would he even get in business with you? Why would he even get in the same boat with you when you said that you want to go your own way, you want to do this, you want to do that, and the ship only has one rudder. The ship only has one steering wheel. You can't go to your destination if you're always fighting on where you want to go. So my thing is this: marriage itself has not changed. It's the things that we pick up along the way that has changed. But the thing about it is very important that you decide that you pick a co-pilot who can actually understand where you're going. They know how to read a map. They know how to read the stars. You see what I'm saying? They know how to cooperate. They know how to fish. They add something of value along the way. So that way, everybody in the ship is satisfied. So when you hit rough waters from time to time, you know what I mean? When somebody loses their job, you don't panic. Every now and then when somebody gets sick along the way, you don't panic. You see what I'm saying? Because you've already discussed it. So my thing is this: I think marriage is a vessel, that actually keeps you safe inside of marriage. And I think it's how we should view it. But today's day, you want to make sure that you pay attention to where you're pulling up to get your supplies from, because that's what's actually wrecking marriages today. Because good places to fill up are few and far between.
Man, that's a good statement. I want to ask the panel that question of where can you fill up on good marriages? Like,
That's
where are some
absolutely the question.
places that you would recommend, or you've seen that you would say, you know what, I can pick up a little bit of something here? And I'm gonna start with Dwayne. What you got, sir?
Well, I was going to ask a question, what's the context? But I know you're going to start grilling me, so let me not go there.
Listen, I'm loving that you answered your own question.
As I was,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say the Word of God. I'm gonna have to say that. It's simple.
Okay. It's a pretty large book, Dwayne.
It is absolutely, but it keeps it real nice and simple. Keeps it
So
right,
can
real
you
nice
tell
and
us
simple.
where you don't want to, like, you gonna just tell them to read Song of Solomon? Like,
Well, no, I mean just that what Jesus what he taught. So he referred to it as the bridegroom,
mhm.
the bride, how you're supposed to treat the bride. There's context there. So in it, like that, who Jesus is, your first question was as to describe marriage in your own terms, and that's how I say in Matthew where it says, love. Which commandment was the greatest? Which commandment was the greatest? And it said, hey, it's simple. Love the Lord your God with your heart, your mind, your soul, and your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And then the next one is to love your neighbor. The closest neighbor that we'll have to us is our spouse. So in that regard, he's telling you love God, then love your neighbor. So that's my breakdown to it. Where that source is the Bible, based on that breakdown. That's
Like,
the key source of relationships right there.
that's what's up. Who you got next?
Crystal, what you got?
I would definitely say therapy or a therapist. I think that you definitely have to work on yourself before you enter a marriage or think that you can navigate properly through it. So I think you can't be afraid of some sort of counseling if you're religious, a religious counselor or therapist, or if you're not, just any type of therapy to really unpack yourself so you can have the introspection to be a better person for your partner. So yeah.
That's good. Who you got going next? I like that one. That therapy one. That's rock solid. Who you got going next, Miss Crystal?
Let's go with Kendra.
I like her answer to therapy. Having having a good community of other married people, people that are basically living the same life, not exactly, but they understand what marriage is. And not only just people that are married, people who you can see their commitment to their marriage. You can see how they tried, how they navigate themselves. Talking to them will probably be like the best, next to the Bible and therapy, having someone to be like, girl, you tripping. Like, that's not no reason to, what I'm saying? Like somebody to hold you accountable within your own marriage other than your husband.
That's what's up. Who you got next?
Prototype.
Can we restate the question just so I can get a clarity of, because the answers kind of threw me off.
For sure. So the question is, where are some, like, Lost in Translation was talking about the ship, right? You remember the analogy about the ship, and then coming to a port and being able to pick up something to help you continue to navigate this ship, as it called the ship of marriage. So I asked, what would be a good place to find things that can be picked up to help you along your journey as it relates to marriage?
I don't know if y'all been to therapy. I have. Therapists don't give advice. But so this was kind of confused. Therapy don't give advice. They're terrible.
Yeah, but we asking you about yours.
Man. You know what I would say? I would say a good suburban youth program. Not the inner city one, but a good suburban youth program. Sports program, where you got your kids and stuff, where they play basketball, football, baseball, you know what I'm saying? In the suburbs, around a mix of people, not the black ones, but the black people that are out there is cool. They cool. You know what I'm saying? They're a part of the group. So, you know what I'm saying? So you got to get out of the inner city, because there's a lot of single moms and single dads. So you're not going to get marriage advice in there. But in the suburbs and the outskirts, you know what I'm saying, where it's a little mixed culture, you know what I'm saying, where you got some Indians and some whites and some Asians, and you know what I'm saying? I'll say this.
DEI, right?
Listen.
DEI, got you.
Listen. Those kids don't understand kids that are not made outside of marriage.
That's true.
They don't understand it. Like even my son, he's only 7. He thinks that I married my older kid's mom, because he doesn't understand kids outside of marriage. You know what I'm saying? And he's 7 trying to put it together. He's like, so wait, daddy married Caden's mom and you, mommy? And we're like, yeah, that's what he did. You know what I'm saying? But he don't even understand it. But the kids out there don't understand it. Everybody has a mom and a dad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not the inner city ones, though. You got to stay out of that one. But come to the suburbs, and that's where those structures, they're ideal, man. Like, and in that, though, like you could see different, how people are raising their kids, how people are coaching their kids, how fathers are reacting to, their wives and XYZ and blah, 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 right? So just being in that environment, you get an opportunity to kind of like sit back and watch how other families function. And you can pick up some good traits and some bad ones. You know what I'm saying? But picking up things from people who are doing it in a majority, that's a good place to do it.
I didn't know where you was going.
It ended up making sense, though. Like, it took a minute. Because I was like, what? Nothing. You do know there's families in. Okay.
Look, 72% single parent homes. I'm talking about the majority. Where are you going to get a group collective?
Yeah, that's a solid point, because being a dude that's been in the suburbs or in the hood, I went to the hood on Friday to take my youngest son to go practice basketball, and boy, the difference. He has not been to the hood before, right? I didn't even tell you about this, bad. Hey,
You told
These
me you wanted to know why was so many buses. You
okay.
never lived in a part of town that had the bus system.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. So he had never seen a bus system, right? And so he's like, Dad, why is there so many buses? I said, because we're in the hood, and and people don't have the same I won't say opportunity. They don't have access to automobiles like that, right? So anyway, we pull up. We at this church, this old church or whatever, and the boys are rowdy. Okay, the ones that are, in my mind, being who they were at that age, from a single family home, the coach had to tell them to be quiet 7 times at one time. They did not be quiet the first time the coach said to be quiet. He had to then communicate to them, we are going to the white side of town next week, and you all cannot act how you're acting now. That is bananas to me, as well as with Ethan, because Ethan already know it don't matter where you go, you better act right. I don't even have to put that message together. Right. And so I said, what was the difference that you saw? He said, they cuss so much, Dad. He said, like, the way that they act is just really different. And so when Prototype said what he said, it made me remember going to baseball games, you see lots of families. But when you go to a football game, you see lots of single mothers. And so if you get yourself around people that are about family, you'll be able to see and pick up on things that you can bring back to your marriage for sure. Is there anyone that didn't get to go on this one? Jamie, it's me, Jamie. What
Yeah,
you
I
got,
didn't go.
Jamie?
I didn't have anything to add, and I don't think Lost went either. Lost didn't go.
Oh, my bad. Okay, Jamie, you don't have
Yeah,
nothing to add, really?
no, because I agree with Prototype. To be like all the way honest, I mean, I agree with everybody on here. Like what all you all gave all the good answers, but Prototype's answer,
It just
I mean, I
sounded
live
rough.
it. Yeah, I actually live it. Like my son, we live, like the more suburb area. His friends didn't know that he was raised by a single mom until they came to his birthday recently. So they had no idea. They're like, "Hey, where's your dad?" He was like, my dad doesn't live here." I was like, "Oh my God," this whole entire time. But his friend group is all nuclear family. So that's all he's seen. That's all we were around all the time. So it was never noticed. And a lot of the dads they work good jobs. So they work, like, some are lawyers, some UPS, whatever, but they are always busy. So they just assumed his dad was working. Right. So Prototype, you like bang, because
Yeah.
on the other side of town, or when I had him in football, there was nothing but single moms around, right? Like you never saw any of that. So pulling him out of football was easier for me to deal with than putting him in band. Now he's just around all family type people. So I mean, right on just that's phenomenal just to think about that. But yeah, you're right.
Lost. Yeah.
You know what? I think that men should get around other men that they look up to. I'll give you an example. When my dad was alive, he actually used to, right before football games, we would cook for the fellas. So some of the guys didn't have, dads or whatever, but at the same time, they still looked up to my dad because he would always pull out that whole big double barrel barbecue grill and load it up full of all type of food. And we would actually sit around and we would celebrate, you know what I'm saying? Eat before the game, fellowship, that type of thing. And what they did was most of the guys who didn't have fathers got an opportunity to share a father, which was like my father in that particular situation. And the coaches were able to talk to my dad, and the other guys were able to fellowship, and it was more of a man thing getting together. And now that I sit back and I think about it, some of the guys who are on the same football team with us have some of those same traditions now. They have grills, you know what I mean? They sit around and they talk to their boys and they talk about, marriage and things, what it takes to be a leader, those types of things. I think it's very important that you get around people who are who you want to be or who you want to emulate. So that way you get to get a glimpse of the secret sauce that it takes to be that particular person. You know, it's been certain times when we were in class, we had this thing called the Breakfast Club, where at least once a month, all the fellows in the school would dress up with at least a shirt and tie. And we would meet in the library, and we would meet with some of those guys who are actually at the city councils or whatever. And they would come in and they would talk to us. You know, these are guys who are actually leaders in the community. So we already knew for a fact that, hey, we're getting ready. You know, when we get ready to leave here, our job is to replace these guys. So it's important for us to make sure that we at least know what they know and carry ourselves with a certain level of dignity. So we'll know exactly how to handle business, because they're going to tell us what they're doing to be successful. And we're going to have to carry that particular torch. So I tell anybody, whenever you get into a marriage, it's important that you get around more successful people who are in marriages, or people who have marriages you want to emulate. And that goes for women too. Don't always get around a bunch of women who don't value marriage, because that's not where you're going. You know, you want to get around other women who value marriage, who see it. And contrary to popular belief, women wanted to be married to the husbands that they married back in the day. I don't know where that narrative came around, was saying that women wanted to get married out of survival. That is not true. I'm here to tell you, I've lived long enough to see it. And I've talked to older people enough to see it, who were glad to marry the person that they got to marry. And it had absolutely nothing to do with survival. That is something that is a narrative that has been told. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to dispel that, because I've lived long enough to see it. And think about it. There are people who are well off financially now who are still choosing marriage. And you can still get a bank account and all this other stuff, but these people are still choosing marriage. Marriage is a choice that people are still choosing today, just like they did. And it had absolutely nothing to do with survival. It's all about the purpose and understanding that what marriage is used for. I think that is the issue. I think a lot of people don't have a grasp of what's going on. But like I said earlier, Humble Dad, you want to get around people who are going where you're going. And those are the people you need to listen to and block out everything else. Marriage hasn't changed. It's just that the people that surround marriage has changed. HD, instead of him muting, you hit the camera. There you go.
Yeah, my internet started acting up. You just finished, right, Lost?
Oh, yeah, I'm done.
That was really good. Currently, there is about 50% of adult population that is married. Did you know that? So that says that people are still getting married and still working on their marriages. As Kendra said, I do agree with that statement that there needs to be more people that have good marriages to talk about them. That's what I do. I'm on this real I don't know, not how, but soapbox as it relates to marriage, because when I started studying it, I saw that God put it together. I knew that, but just looking at him build Adam and then saying it is not good for a man to be alone, and then creating Eve for him. And then they began to come together to do what he said, which is to be fruitful and to multiply. And they lived a long life together. And so that began the cycle. And even when there were bad kings, they still were married. Even if there were concubines, the kings were still married. Even when you get to the disciples, some of them are even still married. And then you fast forward, people are still getting married. When that's what Laws had said. He said there are people of financial status are still getting married. Jeff Bezos don't have to marry nobody. And this dude got him another wife. Mr. Beast is about to get married. But that's totally different when it comes to the Black population. it is a problem that is one that I want to be a part of rectifying, because marriage is a big deal because God designed it and he made it for a reason, and we should honor that in how we move in building marriages. So I got this one last question that I wanted to get to. Anybody have anything to say before we transition? Did y'all have anything to say about what somebody else has said? Miss Crystal, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I wanted to add just a quick search online, and you can see that of course there were a lot of people back in the day who wanted to be married, I'm sure, but the main purpose in more than the majority of women in those times were necessity. So if you don't know that, you can just simply Google it. And also, therapy is not for a person to give you the answers to your life. It's to have introspection. And the main purpose of couples counseling is really to help with communication, that being one of the top reasons why people get a divorce. So that's where I was coming from with that statement.
But Dad, I wanted to add something before we move on.
Absolutely. We here for the conversation.
Yeah. First of all, I'm older than Google. So I was here before Google. Second of all, I was here. I've seen what marriage is, and people were definitely choosing marriage not out of survival. They were marrying people because they wanted to marry. Because if it was survival, they could have choose anybody else they wanted to survive with. But the person that they chose was the person that they chose, and they chose them for a reason, and it has nothing to do with survival.
Because there were people. This was I think that there is a demographic that is not necessarily being stated, because if I'm correct, if I'm wrong, let me know. But typically how a person decided who they was going to marry was based on family. So there was not necessarily, I can see why you may say survival. However, there were poor people even getting married. So the woman is coming together with the man so that they can be a union. They were going to be surviving, not necessarily based on monetarily. It was she needed protection. So it wasn't necessarily just a financial thing. Because women were being taken advantage of, and so there was a man that would be able to come along and be her protection, right? So you even look in the biblical times where I can't think of her name. She went to the king and sat by his feet, and she did it because that was survival in the sense of she wanted to help her people, right? But then you had people such as Potiphar's wife. She wasn't married. I wouldn't say, they didn't say why she got married, but she was a queen. So it's different based upon the demographics of individuals. Because like I said, Black people were getting married and they didn't even have money. So survival would have been for both of them then, not just the woman. If you're saying that both were marrying to survive, then maybe. But they were not saying, because what it sounds like is like, okay, hey, listen, I need to survive, so I got to go marry somebody. These people were marrying people who they wanted to marry for the most part. No, that's not true either, because they were being given away.
They was marrying the biggest, strongest buck. Well, I remember watching one of those slave movies, and one slave said to the other slave was like, "You better find you a buck to take care of you." She said, "You better go find you your own buck. I got mine. Don't be looking at my buck. That's my buck. But you better go find you a buck."
Listen, that's a new one. That's my buck.
That's my buck. You better go find you a buck. Y'all ain't never seen that. I don't know what movie it was.
In the world. That's my buck.
That's my buck. You better go get you one. I'll take care of you through the winter.
Here's the problem. These people act like these women didn't have fathers, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Come on,
Yeah,
man. Let's
South
can we at least
Yeah, all
give
these
the
women
fathers
yeah.
some credit and some visibility in here? They
Okay.
act like these women came out of nowhere, didn't have no covering at all. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't want to get married, you didn't have to get married. You could just simply stay at your father's house.
Yeah,
Survival was not the issue. And I think people need to really stop and think about that. They're making it seem like as if their father was abusive. No, your father loves you. You know, that's the reason why he went out and he found a good husband in most cases for you to marry. You know, and they've already done the work. They've vetted. And I wish we would get away from watching TV because that's a narrative and agenda that people have to do. Let's get out into real world and touch real grass and talk to people who've actually went out and had real marriages, you know, instead of watching TV. Like
Listen,
real
I
talk.
Lost. I'm gonna interrupt you on this because I see where you're at because I'm thinking about now that I teach history, I get to see a lot of things now. When slavery happened, it broke up a lot of homes. And when it ended, they began to find each other. And if they only wanted to be with them for survival in that regard, they would have just found somebody to marry. But they didn't. They
And I want
found
to be
their
clear, I didn't mean only for survival. That was just like my main difference between then and now. So I
Oh
was
no,
not
you're
even,
fine.
No, stick
yeah.
with it, Crystal. I'm right. I got your back.
Yeah, you're fine. I'm just it's just a conversation. Because you're not the first person that has made that statement before
Right.
though. So it's not to you specifically. It's to the conversation that because I was on the thought process of survival too, Miss Crystal. But then when I look back at the nucleus of the family was there during slavery, and then they broke it up. But then families on purpose started finding each other so that they could reestablish their family. And that is why the Black family before the 1960s had the highest marital rate in the United States. The highest. At one point, it was like 80%. So there
These
may
people
have,
wanted to be together.
yeah, 100% because they came and found each other for some particular reason. Last question, right? And we're gonna be out of here. I appreciate the time. The question is, how does a healthy marriage impact the individuals involved as well as their families and communities? How does a healthy marriage impact the individuals involved as well as their families and communities? We'll start with you, Miss Crystal. What you got?
I mean, a healthy marriage builds a healthy environment for the family, for your children. So we've seen the benefits of children who've grown up in a healthy household. And I think that's the biggest word that sticks out to me is healthy marriage, healthy household. Because you can have a horrible person come from a two-parent household, and if the parents aren't in a healthy state of mind or have maybe some spiritual or religious base in some way, something that holds them accountable, something that makes them better individuals that come together to be interdependent. You know, I think it just helps in general. It helps on so many different levels. Like, you know, children who come from households where they've been abused or where they've dealt with just not having their necessities, beyond having their necessities met. They have to have those emotional necessities met as well. So yeah, I think that's a, you know, having two healthy people together therefore affects the future generations. It gives them um, a blueprint of how to move through life. Also, too, just what is it? Compromising. Like, I think it's good to see two people compromise, to see how to work through things with two different individuals. Um, healthy examples of the relationship, which doesn't mean that there's never any hard times. It's actually very healthy for a child to see their parents have a disagreement and to see them come back together. Because, like Kendra was saying earlier, you need married people who are being honest, and when you have those married people who are being honest about what marriage actually is and what their marriage actually looks like, I just think it builds healthier people. So I would say it definitely benefits the children and knowing how to work with another person.
That's what's up. Who you got going next? Oh, Proto, come on. Go ahead, Proto.
No, I was saying that married people being honest, man, that's so hard to find because most men aren't truthful about marriage. Like a lot of people just say just the BS, what you're supposed to say about marriage. You know what I'm saying? And not really tell the truth about what it really is, man. And I think that's gotten so many people in the wrong with the wrong ideas about what it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? That's how like Happy Wife, Happy Life has lasted so long because people were just saying what they think you're supposed to say. You know what I'm saying? So, but I will say this though, what a healthy marriage does, if you can get one nuclear family together that's healthy, it becomes the pillar of that family. You know what I'm saying? The safe haven for that family. Upstanding citizen in that community. Like, you know what I'm saying? It kind of garnishes some, respect about it. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of men really got married so they don't seem like creeps. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he got a wife, so he must not be that much of a creep. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or it's an alibi. Like, oh, he got a wife, so he said the wife said he was at home. He wasn't out like doing X, Y, Z. So, you know what I'm saying? Like most men got married for the cover up, so
You be saying some outlandish things.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
Bro, you telling me that you got married so nobody would think that you was a perv? Is that what you said?
I got married so I could be a perv to move. For one, that's one of the reasons.
Every time I think he's about to say something profound, it's like he going one way and just.
I got one of the reasons I got married so I could look at my wife the way I want to, how I want
Listen,
to, wherever I want.
That is a shout out to that one.
You know what I'm saying? But no, not seriously. Like for me, like I said, it was being sinless. And it was like, even before I got married, I used to wear a wedding ring to job interviews. And it makes you just seem like you're more dependable. You know what I mean? Like, so when you're going up for a job interview, oh, he got a family, so he must be taking this serious. It just makes you a more accountable man. You know what I'm saying? It makes other people trust your product. You know what I mean? But if you're out here single, unless you're great at it, people are a little bit more skeptical if your product is really true. You know what I'm saying? So you can't coach kids and just be out here being single because everybody gonna think you sleeping with all the moms. You know what I'm saying? But if you're coaching kids and you got a wife on your hand, like, oh, all right, no, he married, he cool, yeah, let's go over there. Like, it depends on your product. You know what I mean? So
that's a very good point. Kendra, what you got on the question?
Individuals involved. It sets it up for the next generation. Like if people weren't getting married, people weren't having kids, and society wouldn't be able to work. And I don't think that people truly understand how important the nuclear family is, because if everybody has kids everywhere, none of the children are getting the time and attention that they need from their parents, which trickles down to the next generation. And we're a product of that. We see it in our own communities. So coming together as a marriage, having children together, being in the same home with your children on a consistent everyday basis is what's going to set the next generation up for success.
That's what's up. Hey, what's up? What you got, Lost?
You know what? I love how sometimes people like to share their trauma. I'm going to use this opportunity to share my treasure. You know what I mean? Because sometimes people like to share bad stories about what happened and this, that, and the other. I'm going to tell y'all a good story so you can use that to take it on and use that as fuel to move on and see life differently. When we were coming up, man, our neighborhood was full of nothing but married people, and the kids got along. You know what I mean? We had an opportunity to see what a healthy marriage looks like. I mean, think about it. When we used to go outside and play, when we had dinner, if one parent wasn't there, one kid could come over and eat. It was, everybody took care of each other. It wasn't one of these situations where we looked at our friends as if they were, just the neighbor. They were brothers. They were sisters. You know what I'm saying? We cared for each other. And in that microcosm, we learned that, hey, this is how you get along with people, even though you don't have, even though you don't get along all the time, that's still your brother. That's still your sister. You know what I mean? And even if you couldn't talk to your mom and dad, you can go across the street and talk to their mom and dad. You see what I'm saying? That type of thing. So I think a lot of times, man, we don't get an opportunity to talk about the community as itself. When a marriage is healthy, it gives the neighbors an opportunity to share that love between each other, as far as sharing wisdom and knowledge. Because think about it, I've learned a lot of information from my neighbor across the street, along with what my dad taught, and the lady who lived next door, you know what I mean? I learned a lot from her and her husband that they did, some of the stuff. And it gave me a grander perspective on life and how marriage is supposed to be done. And then once I think about it, all of my friends are still married to this day. They have kids, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking about myself, maybe it has something to do with the environment that we were all in. And you know what? We still keep up with each other's birthdays. We're just like brothers and sisters. We always tell each other happy birthday or whatever. From time to time, we'll meet up at Applebee's, reminisce, that type of thing. And I think that is the result of the good things that could come out of it. I think a lot of times people like to point to the bad things in relationships and the abusiveness and stuff like that. But there are times where, for the most part, good things do come out of situations like that. So instead of sharing trauma today, I choose to share treasure. And I'm going to go with Dwayne next.
Appreciate it, Lost. Man. Healthy. It's something we typically look over. The health and condition. Like, we see somebody and we think that they're fine. And I think that's in our society, with all the makeup and with all the cosmetics and all this other stuff, social media, we tend to put on a show. And I think a result of that show is what we're seeing now is the degradation of relationships. So as for a healthy marriage, and how will it impact like the individuals involved as well as the families and community? I'm going back again to the branching out of how God set it up. Love God, then love your neighbor. It goes from your neighbor extends from the closest one to you all the way out. So from a community standpoint, how can you, they say as for fold your bed or make your bed. Why is that such a pivotal or important concept? Because when you get up in the morning, you step out of bed, you're leaving something behind. And if you're not addressing that, what's the rest of your day going to look like? How many other things are you going to leave behind and not clean up? That's at hand. So it's very important to make your bed. Make sure your home is good. So before you even get into that marriage, you got to make sure that your home and your inside is good, that you are taking care of yourself. Because how can you take care of somebody else if you are not taking care of yourself? So going as for servant leadership is very important. And a part of the submissiveness to God is that servant leadership. And man, it's twofold. The woman has to be a servant to her husband. It's your duty. Man, you have to be a servant to your wife. It's a duty. So it's like that's the responsibility of both. And in our selfish cosmetic buildup of fake stuff, it's like we're really selfish. At the core of it, we're really selfish people. So nothing exposes that more than marriage. So yes, it's very important to make sure that you're healthy in the sense that you are understanding what your mission is. and how much selflessness is involved in that mission.
That's what's up, man. Always leave it up to Prototype to be the troll in these streets. All right. Listen, this dude here. All right. Jamie, what you got?
Well, okay, so I mean, Dwayne, everybody said it. Health, right? Health is the state of being free from illness or injury. So if you have a healthy marriage, it is the ability to be free from illnesses, mental illnesses, any type of illnesses, and free from injuries, right? Whatever that looks like, abuse, all of that other stuff, right? But what it does to the community is when you have a happy home, you can't help but to want to spread that joy to other people. You can't want to be able to share that good news, right, to other people. So you actually are giving from the overflow of what God is filling you guys with, right? And so then when you give from the overflow and you spread that good news, you're giving the good message of Jesus Christ, which is what you're supposed to do in the first place. So a healthy marriage, again, I think we talk about marriage and people want to X God out of it, but it's his institution. So if the institution is not reflecting Christ, then we're wasting our time because the mission is to spread the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? And I think that's where the message in marriage gets messed up because people want it for selfish reasons, selfish ambition. And so it just creates a beautiful overflow. We've seen it. We see how it affects even when there's godless marriages, but they're healthy. We see the fruits of the spirit somewhere in there, right? Kids get sowed into. Lost just said it. Kids are able to have a father-like figure, but he's not really their father. They're able to still get some type of love that they're not receiving in their real homes. So if we all did this right, imagine what it would look like. It's really that simple. Okay, that's all I got.
That's what's up. Before I go, Miss Crystal, thank you so much for joining the show. Appreciate
Thanks for letting me come up.
Absolutely. Shout out to Kendra. Get your fine self. Hey, Jamie, finally you have not been sick and brought your knowledge again. Always saying you don't have nothing to say, but always saying something of value. Shout out to Dwayne. You know what I'm saying? He hit the mute button on time, on the regular today. So I'm proud of you, my guy. You know what I'm saying? Looking like an aviator. You know, that's my dude right there. All right. Lost, once again, you do what you do magnificently. And Prototype, you got a hood approach to all the words that you put together to be such a suburban. And they are very much still delightful to hear because the truth is in it. And so I value each and every one of you for bringing your thoughts and your time to provide people solutions to the quandary that some people keep having about this marriage thing as if it's a mystery, when in fact there is actual answers and there are people with answers to help you have a healthy marriage. I would say that what a healthy marriage does for family and community is what I said before. It gives them structure and stability, and it allows individuals to have a place to have fun, to find rest, to find love, to find energy, to find even the times, as Miss Crystal said, if there's a struggle, they're able to see what it looks like to maneuver through a struggle. And they also want other people to be invited over to that house. Case in point, our son Ethan enjoys inviting his friends over to our house. And they come over and they enjoy themselves as well. When we have our house parties, people enjoy coming over to the parties because they know that we're very hospitable people. So, and they know that it's going to be love here. And so I just thank you all for your time. And the goal is it will be all year is to make marriages great again. That's funny. Shout out to Dwayne and Proto for that one. Until next time, We out here. Deuces.
The boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.